Leading our executive search practice and team is Johnny Park, our global head of executive search and HR, who is joining us today to share his journey in leading from Asia to America with influences and challenges in between. Johnny is a seasoned HR practitioner with over 15 years of international experience in policies and strategies, including workforce management consultancy and people development. Prior to joining Yardstick, Johnny was based in Vietnam, living and working in Southeast Asia and specializing in HR for emerging markets, international conglomerates, and large companies. Some of his employees included Fortune 500 and global organizations. Help me welcome to the virtual stage, Johnny Park, my colleague, my esteemed colleague. Hello, Johnny.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining this morning to talk about our practice. And I know that you will delight us with just all the massive amount of information regarding your experience and work in this space. But before we dig into that, I want to talk about your personal journey. Talk to us about the work that you have done in the past overseas and here in the US that got you to where you are today with Yardstick.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been thinking about this the last few days and weeks, and really, each of us have our own unique experiences that allowed us to get to where we are today. And I've been very fortunate to be able to not only work overseas and to be a part of that immersive culture and understanding different thinkings and different behaviors and different ways that people operate versus, my experiences here in the U.S. And focusing on HR and focusing on recruitment and focusing on everything in between, my learning has been people just want to be recognized. People want to be heard, and people want to be appreciated. And for me, it's been such a great opportunity to be a part of the Yardstick management team, is because we are partnering with such incredible organizations who are taking and focusing D&I progressive work and making that a part of really their groundwork and their foundation. And I'm just really pleased to be a part of that. And so I encourage all those, whether you are new in your career or expert levels in your career, to keep supporting one another and to be able to build that network.
John, you bring with you really an incredible experience in the global space, which ties into a lot of diversity naturally, right? And then you brought that into Yardstick. What we do here is so focused on diversity and placements of those individuals in leadership positions. How has your work, I guess, in Vietnam shaped or influenced what you do here at Yardstick? And then we'll go from that and tap into your own personal background and culture influences.
Yeah, for me, working in Southeast Asia, people work everywhere, people work hard. But in order to survive and really do well in that corporate space or in any of that space, in my experience in Vietnam in particular, is you just have to always be hustling and grinding and really just trying to stay ahead of everybody, whether it's 2 steps ahead or 12 steps ahead. It's really just being able to get that experience and exposure. And for me, my success is always based on an ecosystem. And it's always important for me to be able to leverage not only my network, but also to be able to get really wonderful people who will coach and inspire and guide and get me into those areas where I can continue to excel and achieve. And I would say the same thing here, since I've been working, I'm repatriated back to the US the last couple of years, is being able to continue and build that network and be able to continue to rely on individuals. Many of are on the Zoom call today, which is to be able to network and coach and guide, and as well as, pay that forward to others as well.
Jenny, tell us a bit about your own cultural background. Where are you? Because you have such a unique story. You got to tell us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my background is I think unique to me, but I think there's, as we expand and get to know others, I think there's a lot of similarities, even in the last couple days and weeks, getting to know the rest of the panel as well. So my father is Korean, hence the last name Park. My mother is Vietnamese. it was real a treat to live in Vietnam and experience some of those things. I was born in the Middle East in Tehran, Iran. So my parents had met prior to the war, and they wanted to continue and explore different markets. As a result, the job of my dad ended up landing in Tehran, and we migrated to the U.S. when I was about 5 or 6. And as a result, my parents were immigrants. Their English wasn't that good, and there's all these experiences that I imagine a lot of people have with having immigrant parents. And for me, that experience has been really um, enlightening, especially being a father myself now, and being able to translate what that means not only to my children but also reflecting that on what that means to my parents and how difficult that they had it. And so for me, moments like these where we're able to celebrate different ethnicities and to celebrate different heritages, I mean, it's really, really special and unique. And so, I'm just, again, very thrilled to be a part of it.
Thank you, Johnny. I love that. I love your story because it's quite unique. Like, I love the Tehran part as well. I mean, being a person who comes from also Middle Eastern backgrounds, I could totally relate, as well as being a refugee. I think overall that experience is very relatable. Not a refugee, but an immigrant, sorry, is very relatable. So thank you for sharing that. So as we tie this into how that has influenced the specific work that you do, working in recruiting, and working across cultures, diversity, especially here at Yardstick, being able to find talent that is 100% Black, Brown, Asian, minority, marginalized in general, women, all of that. What is a piece of advice, I guess, that you would give to others in the same field in order to create more diversity within the hiring pipeline? Of course, this is the work we do. We get hired to do it for companies, but what would you tell those who are making the decision in hiring?
I would say culture fit is incredibly important. Not only organizations look for those that can fit within the dynamics of the key performance measurements, but also to be able to fit within the team and organization. So, from the employer side, I would definitely recommend making sure that when you're looking for individuals, of course, they have to meet the job descriptions criteria and so forth, but also making sure that they're a cultural fit. I think from the employer side, from the employee side, or if you're a potential employee, it's also making sure that that fit also is in alignment. I think it's really important to be able to understand and come to work really bringing your true self, being able to be genuine and being able to add your unique experiences as well as your unique leadership or communication styles to be able to bring that to the team and be a value add. And so for me, as that happens, it's continuously building that network. Oftentimes, when we are looking for jobs or when we're called by folks like me, we may be passive or we may be looking for roles very specific, unique to us. But at the very end, it's really about network and connecting with others. And so I encourage people to always branch out, get to know others, and really whether it's in your field or outside of your field, branch that out because as your career journey progresses, there might be different parts of those individuals that can either help or you can help those. And so for me, networking has always been that fundamental part of my career. And so I encourage all those to be able to hone in on your strengths, hone in on your uniqueness, and help bring that to the organization or to your communities.
I couldn't agree with you more. I know we're always here, at least at Yardstick, and our founder in particular. For those of you who know Ebby, you know how much of a connector and a networker, but mostly a relationship builder. I think a lot of what you do, Johnny, you and your team, is continuously nurturing and building those relationships to ensure that you find the right fits and places for them across organizations, and vice versa, also with the organizations, the relationships with them. So I'm going to shift gears a bit because I'm curious to know a little bit more about Johnny too. So who or what maybe a moment in your history, in your past, in your journey has made an impact or has been an inspiration to you while growing up? This could be when you were much younger or maybe in your early career, and why?
Yeah, my initial thought always leads to the strong women in my life. I have an incredible mom, and I have two wonderful sisters who are just really impactful in their own unique ways. And as I thought about, some of those moments that have impacted my life, I remember working initially moving to Vietnam, and I had bosses in Singapore. And one particular boss, we were chatting, and they were saying, "Yeah, I mean, I like the U.S., but it wasn't really my cup of tea." And many many years ago, I was thinking, well, Anna, that's interesting. And people like to go to America, or maybe they want to have their career there, or what have you. And what I realized, or what was shared with me, was when he came over here, and I had other conversations likewise, is that when they came here, because of their accents or because of whatever,
Mhm.
they were just always marginalized, even further marginalized. And even though they were, the top of their careers, going out to the grocery stores or going out to whatever, there was just that stigma. And for me, coming back here, working and repatriating back in the US, I can't help but think of that, and I can't help but relate that with experiences that either my parents faced, or my older siblings faced, or and many of us have faced because of those stigmas. And for me, the thing that I try to do is just try to recognize it, acknowledge it, try to break those barriers, but really also try to help others, whether they're up and coming or whether they're established, just to be able to really be that support structure. So for me, that's been one of the biggest impact that I've realized, and I continue to try to pay that forward.
It takes a real leader to see that through, I think, to be able to carry that weight and that burden of the stigma. And again, I could relate with you in different ways. But at the same token, looking past that, it's tough. We have to acknowledge it definitely is tough. But I'm so glad to know that someone like you is in a leadership position to be able to break through that and allow for opportunities for others to do the same. And so this is going to take me into my last question with you about leadership, right? What would you say are the most critical characteristics and traits of an effective leader?
That is an excellent question. And I think that evolves depending on where people are in their careers, whether you're leading a big team or a small team, or leading yourselves. I think that really depends. But my response is unique in the sense that just being genuine. I think when you bring your true self, or you do your best to bring your true self to the work, and sometimes that's not that easy. Sometimes there's
Mhm.
elements or factors that allows us to put on our shield or put on a facade, but all the more reason to find organizations, at least the best of our abilities, for us to be able to have that fit and alignment. But again, going back to my thought, is just to be genuine and to be able to bring that to the workplace, to your either teams or to others, just to be that genuine self. And then the other thing goes back to the Yardstick Institute, the wonderful program that we had back in January, and also the one that we're expecting to have in July, which is the theme of being vulnerable. I think
Mhm.
oftentimes, particularly maybe in Southeast Asia at least, there's a stigma also to be very strong, to be very powerful, to be
Mhm.
very bold. Um, but there's a sense of vulnerability that comes, and that's something that I've really realized, being a part of Yardstick the last year, is just to be able to know that when leaders bring that vulnerability, it's okay. And there's a lot of learning, and there's a lot of humility that comes with that. And because of that, it's this synergistic way of being able to move forward. It's not just me being independent, but it's being um, interdependent with others. It's being able to
Mhm.
collaborate and to be able to come up with better solutions and ideas or projects or whatever, because of that interconnectedness.
Oh, I absolutely love that. I love that being genuine and being vulnerable, because in those two things you're also creating space for others to do the same. And that makes a great leader. Johnny, thank you for sharing your time and your insight with us today. It's always a pleasure speaking with you in this unique environment too. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Selma.